You're listening to Big World Network.
Just Kill Me, Season 5, Finale Part 4. Written and read by Wendy Herman. The 24 exists. Talia and Lars have been working for them since the beginning. She had lied to me again, but I suppose if I thought about things rationally, it would have been dangerous for me to know. Dangerous for everyone. It sounded so cliché when she'd said it first, that she didn't tell me to keep us all safe, but I believed her. The best news yet, though, had been Dunwaddle boarding the bullet train to purgatory. I had a pang of remorse, not for him, but for the fact I couldn't muster any compassion for him at all. Then the pang was gone. Talia and I arrived home in the Impala, and I received a very warm homecoming from the boys and Ty, after he managed to stop drooling over the car. I had a feeling Lars was going to be his new BFF. Even my dad wandered out of his room to make sure I was all right. As soon as I had a minute alone, and by alone I mean me and Ty, since he refused to let me out of his sight after what happened last night, I tried to call Trevor. He didn't answer, so I left a vague but urgent voicemail to call me immediately. Ty tried to reassure me that Trevor could take care of himself, and I pretended that his words made me feel a little better. Talia said Lars was ready to pull Trevor out if it got hairy, even at the expense of blowing his cover, but I couldn't relax, not until I knew he was safe. And I could tell Ty was worried, too. Talia feigned confidence that everything would go to plan, but when she offered to go pick up Thai food for supper, I knew she was stressing. She always ate Thai food when she was nervous. Ty allowed me some space and let me tell him everything that had transpired at my own pace, and when little ears weren't listening. I couldn't tell if he was agitated because he'd been so worried about me, or if he was getting intensely aroused from the thought of his woman wielding an AK-74. I decided either one was okay with me. The fact that my episode had been instigated by an outside force, the bastard who thought it was a good idea to activate me with an old recording of Trevor saying the magic words, was slightly comforting. At least it wasn't just a short circuit. Once the boys were tucked safely in their beds, we had a chance to sit down and talk to Talia, all of us attempting to take our minds off the lack of communication from Lars and Trevor. Our phones were lined up on the coffee table, charged and ready to receive a call or text. My dad insisted on waiting up with us, but had already begun to snore in the recliner. We didn't wake him. So why would one of Dunwaddle's men program me to kill his own boss? I asked Talia as I leaned into Ty, sitting next to me on the couch. Talia was on the floor, lying back against Rowan's beanbag chair, and gently rubbing her tummy. She smiled as she shared her thoughts. "We're still trying to figure that out," she started. "There are 3 possibilities as I see it. Either the minion was an idiot, shaky, or he wanted Dunwaddle dead and totally got the meaning of the term poetic justice when he picked you to do his dirty work. More likely, and much more satisfying. Or, she emphasized, Dunwaddle ordered you activated to get you out in the open, and your brain came up with the target based on who you wanted to see dead." She trailed off, thinking about the choices she'd just listed. "Okay, so there may be more than 3 options, because the third one sounded good in my head, but it doesn't explain how you knew where Dunwaddle would be this morning." She sank deeper into the beanbag chair, thinking hard. "Well, wait a minute," Ty said. "It was on the news last night, remember?" He turned to me. "What was? Dunwaddle?" "Not specifically the D-bag, no, but it was something about a high-power breakfast meeting in New York City. A lot of senators in attendance. They were discussing something to do with the military budget, so I assumed Dunwaddle was part of it." I crinkled my brow, trying to remember. Nothing came to me, but I joked. "So I could have had my pick of senators?" Ty gave me that spine-tingling, crooked smile and winked at me. "Bummer," Talia sighed and then laughed, looking up at Ty and me. "It would be awesome, though, wouldn't it?" "What?" I asked. "If Dunwaddle had you activated, thinking it would expose you when you tried, or God forbid succeeded in killing someone, and that someone ended up being him. Talk about poetic justice." She laughed again, rubbing her tummy some more. "I wonder if he could still be frozen with a bullet in his head." she mused, mostly to herself, as she reclined on the beanbag. I snuggled into Ty and he wrapped his arm around me, squeezing me tight. "So," he said, barely above a whisper, "Talia told me you were pretty upset that you didn't get to pull the trigger." I looked back at him, mouth open to dispute his comment, but then just shrugged. I don't really remember specifics, just that I was really, really amped up, like I'd had 3 monsters or something. "Do you remember the initial phone call? If it was Trevor's voice?" Ty asked. I closed my eyes and focused on that memory. I ran up the stairs, rounded my bed to the nightstand, picked up the phone, sliding my finger across the touchscreen to answer the call, and put the phone to my ear. In real time, I raised my empty hand to my ear, trying to wake up my muscle memory. Trevor's voice vibrated through the phone, but it sounded far away, like he was on a low-quality speakerphone. "Activate Freya 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Mission assigned. Operation Primary Threat. Senator Thurgood Dunwaddle. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I had said Trevor's words aloud, and Ty and Talia were both staring at me when I opened my eyes. I still had my hand to my ear, so I lowered it. Ty leaned forward to make direct eye contact with me. "Trevor?" I nodded. "So that explains it. That was easy." Talia sighed and laid her head back, closing her eyes. "Lars will be relieved. One less piece to the puzzle." "Were you, or we, sent to kill Dunwaddle back then?" Ty asked, confused. "I don't know, babe. I don't remember," I replied. "We must have, if there was a recording of Trevor saying Dunwaddle's name. Maybe it was the last order Trevor gave us, before he was ordered to shut down the program, and us." "But why—" he started, but I cut him off. "Honey, clearly there was a recording, so he must have given us the mission." Talia opened her eyes and sat up. "Well, then why is Dunwaddle still breathing? If you were given the order to kill him 20 years ago..." Before either of us could respond, Ty's phone rang. We all jumped, and my throat seized as I tried to swallow. Ty grabbed the android and answered. "Trev?" He let out a breath and patted me on the leg. It was Trevor. He was safe. Just then Talia's phone rang, and she scrambled to answer. I focused on Ty's exchange with Trevor, assuming Lars was calling to tell Talia they were both okay, and hopefully on their way home. Unfortunately, the half conversation I was privy to from Ty consisted mainly of alternating "yeah" and "okay" several times. Ty hung up and turned to me. My assumptions had put a smile on my face, but Ty's expression immediately wiped it clean. He was worried. No, he was scared. "What?" I asked sharply. He struggled a moment, then spit it out. "Their plan worked beautifully. They're about an hour away, but..." "But?" I urged him to continue. "But whoever Dunwaddle's goon called to make us disappear..." Oh, shit. It wasn't Lars. I finished the sentence for him, calmly and evenly, though inside I was having a meltdown. He shook his head ever so slightly. "Not yet. Trevor said they might still call Lars, but we need to be prepared." He stood abruptly, saying with authority, "We need to run, Freya. Hide. I have a safe house about 4 hours from here. We need to wake up the boys and go. Now." I stood and tried to remember how to breathe. Ty started for the stairs. "Calm down, you two. No one's going anywhere." Talia had ended her call and was grinning like a Joker victim. Jack Nicholson, not Heath Ledger. "Tal," I began to argue, but she cut me off with a hand in the air. "It's okay. I know who they called. You don't have anything to worry about." "Who?" Ty demanded. "Me." She waved her phone at us from her other hand. Ty and I stood there statues until we realized what Talia was saying. I dropped to the couch like a dead weight. Talia couldn't stop smiling. Then she began to laugh. "Apparently I'm number 1 on the D-Bags hitman list," she spurted between bouts of laughter. I couldn't help it. She had a contagious laugh. I soon joined her. Ty looked at us like we'd lost our minds for a minute, then sat down slowly next to me. He was definitely more relieved than amused. I guess I should have been too, but laughing felt so good. I didn't want to stop. Then I remembered something Ty had said. "You have a safe house?" I asked more sharply than I intended. He turned and gave me a blank stare and then shrugged. Add Ty's secret safe house to the list of things I didn't know about. A loud knock on the back door was my killjoy. We all froze. The second round of knocking caused my dad to stir, and he snored himself awake in the recliner. He opened his eyes and looked at us, confused. Ty motioned for Tal and me to stay put as he crept to the kitchen entryway and peeked his head out. When he exhaled hard and looked up at the ceiling, I knew it was safe. I walked into the kitchen and was met by Leon and Ainsley's friendly faces, peering through the glass door. I let them in. We resumed our comfortable spots in the living room and brought the couple with us. An hour later we were chatting away as if it was an impromptu gathering of old friends, and I decided to make brownies. It was midnight. The party moved to the kitchen, and that's when Trevor and Lars showed up, tired and hungry, but alive and well. They brought a third unexpected partygoer with them, Director Pixley. They were denied brownies until they told us what had happened with Dunwaddle. Trevor whimpered but complied. We went in. I gave an Oscar-worthy performance that he never would have bought had he not been preoccupied with the whole freeze me and put my pod next to Walt Disney thing. I left. He didn't stop me. I met Lars in the parking lot, and we waited for about an hour for him to get the call. When he didn't, I called Rip. We were all hanging on his every word. He looked around, nervous that he'd left something out. Pixley came to his rescue. They came to my office and filled me in, and I stumbled upon some information that I wanted to come and tell you myself. He paused for effect, reaching for the brownie plate, but I slapped his hand away. The room got dead quiet, like I'd just slapped Mother Teresa in the face, but I glared at Pixley, and he smiled. I had this whole mess documented from the beginning, he said. The easier to cover up what outside eyes don't need to see. All I needed to do was send the final report to my boss. But I waited. I knew it wasn't over. Then when I found out what these two clowns did today, he gestured toward Lars and Trevor, I made a call to a buddy of mine in D.C. to check how bad the damage was. Turns out he was just going to call me because they had reason to believe an organization previously thought theoretical might actually be behind some of the recent chaos. A group called the 24. He looked at Lars and then at Talia, who were intently staring at each other, seemingly communicating telepathically. He said 2 people believed to be involved with the group happened to live in my area, and when he told me the names, he looked at Lars and Talia again, who were either contemplating running or they both really had to go to the bathroom. I was praying for the latter. Pixley continued. When he read the names to me, I assured him they both worked for me, undercover, and we'd hit a dead end with the 24. Clearly nothing worth wasting any more government resources on. Pin dropping. I broke the silence. I think you earned a brownie, I said a little too excitedly, and thrust the plate of warm chocolatey goodness under Pixley's nose. He smiled at me again, genuinely, and helped himself. I glanced at Talia just in time to see her silent sigh of relief. Pixley wasn't looking to end his career by outing any black ops agents belonging to an elite group of government officials that may or may not exist. He just wanted a brownie. The room slowly relaxed and returned to a medium din of casual conversation, thankfully not related to issues of national security. When the polite banter began to die down, however, the next important conversation took shape. Leon started us down the path when he asked a simple, innocent question. So, how do we clean this mess up? We'd all been thinking it. Pixley was right when he said it wasn't over. Not yet. The Rip Van Winkle project may be long gone, but the information was still out there in one form or another, flowing through the now never-ending digital pathways, and someone, it didn't even matter who, might someday stumble upon the information and decide they could benefit from it. And I'll be damned if my children were going to have to live with that hanging over their heads. I turned to Ty and he took my hand and squeezed. I think it's time Rip Van Winkle died, Ty said to me and to everyone. One suggestion after another, most of them constructive, ensued from the gathered group, and soon we knew we had the makings of a pretty damn fine plan.
You're listening to Big World Network.